Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to all of you who are in this room and those also joining us here online. I stand here today as a representative of the BIS, which is the host of this event. And in that capacity, we want to acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13, which is the Mississaugas on the Credit. We are truly grateful for your participation and your keen interest in our work. The presence of so many of you, distinguished attendees, and the enthusiastic response that we have received to this opening is a testament to the Canadian ecosystem's strong interest in the forward-looking exploration that the Bank of International Settlements is proposing. Before we start, let me briefly describe the Innovation Hub. You can think about the Hub as the technology exploration branch of the Bank for International Settlements. We operate on three primary mandates: technology scanning, technology creation, and community building. The need for central banks to innovate has never been greater, and through this mandate, the Innovation Hub aims to contribute that central banks remain at the forefront of technological advancements. Today, we want to share with you our vision of the journey into the future of finance. We will hear the central banker's perspective on innovation, delivered by BIS General Manager Agustin Carstens and Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem. We will discuss the future of finance with diverse participants from the global financial ecosystem and delve into the specifics of open finance and its crucial role in supporting these visions. Our focus today is on collaboration and innovation. We believe that progress in the financial sector can only be achieved through cooperative efforts across jurisdictions between the public and the private sectors, among all participants, the old ones as well as the new ones. Today, we celebrate the opening of our 7th Innovation Hub Center. With existing centers already operating in Hong Kong, Singapore, London, in the Nordics, Eurosystem, and Switzerland, we are now thrilled to add Toronto to this amazing list. I think it's fair to say we've come a long way since the Innovation Hub was first created in 2019. And we plan to keep pushing the boundaries of central banking. I would like to extend my special thanks to the Bank of Canada for the invaluable assistance in getting us to where we are today, launching the first hub center in the Americas region. And to commemorate this milestone, we have carefully curated the topics, the speakers, and the guests attending this opening to have a broad representation of all the relevant stakeholders. Thank you once again for joining us here today. We look forward to a productive and insightful event. Now I would like to give the floor for a brief opening statement to Tiff Macklem, Governor of the Bank of Canada. He would then be followed by Agustin Carstens, General Manager of the BIS.
Well, thank you, Cecilia, and what a pleasure it is to be here with so many distinguished guests and with you, Agustin, on this very exciting occasion. There has been a lot of anticipation at the Bank of Canada about the opening of the Toronto Innovation Hub. And that really reflects the fact that the work both Cecilia and Agustin have done to build this community of hubs around the world is critically important. And we are thrilled to be part of it. Fostering innovation has never been more crucial, and that's as true at central banks as it is for businesses. As the financial sector continues to evolve, we need to innovate in different areas and apply skills that aren't traditionally associated with central banking. The reason we want to do this is we want to ensure that Canadians share in the benefits of digital innovation in finance and avoid the pitfalls. That's why this hub and our partnership with the BIS is so important. We need business innovation so that we can be competitive in global markets. We also need it. It is fundamental to raising living standards in Canada. And we need central bank innovation to fulfill our mandates and deliver for our citizens. At the Bank of Canada, just like other central banks, there's nothing really new about innovation. We are constantly innovating in looking for new data sources, building new models, creating new analytic frameworks. We've long innovated in the design of our most visible product, our physical banknotes. We've moved from paper to a polymer substrate in Canada. We've added new security features. In many ways, banknotes is a high-tech material science business. And by necessity, we've had to accelerate innovation in central banks in times of crisis. We did that in the global financial crisis, and we did it in a big way through the COVID pandemic and its aftermath. But there are areas that are of keen interest and important to the core mandates of central banks where it's beneficial to move innovation a bit outside of our daily work. We need new skills, new people, new partnerships. And that's really where the BIS Innovation Hub, the Toronto Innovation Centre, comes in, and particularly our partnership with the BIS. The hub system supports innovation in the latest technologies to help make payments faster, safer, and more secure. The work promotes an efficient, inclusive, and resilient financial system that will serve our populations in a digital age. Having a network of innovation in fintech led by Agustin, Cecilia, and the BIS, and drawn in with central banks from around the world is invaluable. And under the leadership of Miguel Diaz, the Toronto Innovation Centre will work closely with the Innovation Centre in New York, at the New York Fed, and with other central banks throughout the Americas to share our expertise in developing fintech public goods. And that includes fintech, subtech, regtech, policy tech. There are various dimensions. We'll partner with academia, with the private sector, and bring the skills needed to find the best tools and solutions for the future we all want to create. It's an exciting opportunity for everyone involved. And we wouldn't be here if it were not for the tireless and visionary work of Agustin Carstens and his leadership in this endeavor from the beginning. We are very pleased Toronto has been added to the network, and we are committed to bringing the Bank of Canada's expertise to the table. So thank you, Agustin, for your work and for your support of the Toronto BIS Innovation Hub. I'm very much looking forward to the discussion today and for the collaboration in the future. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Let me start by thanking Tiff for his very kind words. We couldn't have developed this idea of a hub, of a BIS Innovation Hub, without the support of our board, without the support of governors, and definitely Bank of Canada has been a major supporter from the very beginning. Together with the Bundesbank, and here we have Joachim Nagel, we also have a partnership with him, and certainly Lesetja in his different hats he wears at the BIS has been very, very supportive. And I see here many representatives of different central banks. So this is a joint enterprise of the central banking community. So, of course, I joined Cecilia and Macklem welcoming all of you who have joined us here today to celebrate the opening of the BIS Toronto Innovation Centre. I would like to thank particularly the Canadian government, Tiff, Caroline, and their team at the Bank of Canada, and the many staff at the BIS whose hard work, perseverance, and creativity have made this opening possible. As Cecilia mentioned, this is our 7th Innovation Hub Center. It joins counterparts in Singapore, Hong Kong, Switzerland, the Nordic countries, the Eurosystem, and London. With its opening, we can now proudly say that the BIS Innovation Hub is a truly global force for innovation. It was always clear to me that we should have an innovation hub in the Americas. The Bank of Canada was a natural partner. It has long been at the forefront of innovation. To the many innovations that Tiff mentioned in his remarks, there are other areas in other times where Bank of Canada has been innovating. I just remember that in the Bretton Woods era, it was one of the first central banks to float its exchange rate. In the 1990s, it was one of the pioneers of inflation targeting. And Toronto, one of the world's most diverse cities with a thriving financial sector and vibrant fintech scene, was an obvious place for us to base our hub. These BIS Innovation Hub centers are relatively small operations, but with big ambitions. Their success hinges on leveraging the knowledge and experience of their host central banks and local innovation networks. There are few better places to do this than Toronto. Our base in Toronto will also allow us to tap into broader innovation networks in Canada and the rest of the Americas. It will bring us closer in terms of time zones, but more importantly in culture and mindset, with some of the world's most influential central banks, its largest financial institutions, and its most dynamic technology ecosystems. Being in the Americas will also position us to engage with countries across the spectrum of innovation needs. The countries in the Americas have financial systems with different levels of technological development. For the most advanced ones, the task of the BIS Innovation Hub is to contribute to improve their already efficient and dynamic financial systems. For the other countries that are lacking basic infrastructure or financial plumbing, we will support in developing the basic building blocks that are necessary for the new technologies to produce their maximum result. That is why we have launched Project FUSE, or Fully Scalable Settlement Engine, as one of the BIS Toronto Innovation Center's first initiatives. This project, run in conjunction with the Inter-American Development Bank, will provide flexible, scalable, and open-source building blocks to enable the development of next-generation payment systems and financial market infrastructures. It will position even countries with rudimentary payment infrastructures to leapfrog to the front of the pack. I have spoken at length about what the BIS Innovation Hub will gain from having a base in Canada. But let me assure you that this is not a one-way street. The BIS Toronto Innovation Centre will help Canada and the Americas more broadly connect with some of the world's most innovative central banks and some of its most dynamic financial and technological centers. Perhaps more importantly, the insights that we gain from a base in the Americas will strengthen the BIS Innovation Hub's mission to develop technological public goods to support central banks and improve the functioning of the entire global financial system. And that is something that everyone will benefit from. The BIS Innovation Hub is a collaborative enterprise. BIS Innovation Hub do not operate as silos, each pursuing its own narrow agenda. They all play their part, forming a coherent whole. Each center work program is structured around 6 core teams, which are common to the entire Innovation Hub. Because they work together, the combination is greater than the sum of its parts. Our hub centers are able to address common challenges for multiple perspectives. For example, Project Nexus from our Singapore center, Project Enbridge and from our Hong Kong center, and Project Agora, a collaboration between our Swiss center and the New York Federal Reserve Bank's Innovation Center, are all exploring different ways to increase the speed and reliability of cross-border payments while lowering their cost. Other projects consider cross-border functionality, such as Project LEAP from the Eurosystem Center that considers quantum secure communication, Project Raven from the Nordic Center that uses AI to assess financial system cybersecurity, and Project Hertha from our London Center that seeks to identify financial crime patterns while preserving privacy. The projects of individual Innovation Hub centers also build on the work of all the others. And as the Innovation Hub's work agenda evolves, centers are increasingly joining forces to pursue joint projects that build on the success and lessons learned of their early endeavors. From today, the BIS Toronto Innovation Center will be able to formally join into this collective base of knowledge and expertise. Together with the Bank of Canada and the rest of the Innovation Hub centers, it will pursue an agenda that seeks to develop innovative solutions that will benefit the entire global central banking community. So thank you, merci beaucoup, and let's move forward together.
Thank you very much. Two very thoughtful, inspiring introductions from Governor Macklem and from General Manager Carstens. In the next 15-20 minutes, we're going to have a conversation around these topics that you have laid out and unpack some of the machineries and the visions and the struggles, perhaps also, that is within this field. And let me start by going into the very core of the objective of the Innovation Hub and what we try to achieve. So starting with what we see around us, there is a fast-moving world, as you know. The digital economy is moving. It has great effects on our societies. And it opens a lot of appetite for new kinds of services. But it also pressures the way central banks need to operate and how society really understand what central banking is about and what financial services need to be about and how they operate in a safe and efficient way for the general good of the public. When it comes to a central bank, the interesting thing with a central bank is that its most valuable asset is something that does not sit on its balance sheet. And the thing that I'm thinking about is trust. So we are operating in the most, I would say, important area of trust society can offer, making sure that money works for people to make transactions. But as society change and preferences change, the way money work and operate also needs to change with it. So we need to innovate, but when you do that, there are certain risks with innovating. There is possibility that mistakes are happening. So we need to make sure that trust is kept at all times, but we do not want to make mistakes. But if we don't move, we can also find ourselves in a situation that society moves on without the role of central banks sitting at the core and the heart of the fiat money system. So let's start there. Let's start talk about the sort of the essence of moving forward without mistakes. And then turning to you, Agustin, first. The Innovation Hub is now more than 4 years old. Can you share with us some of what we've learned from this experience, setting it up and operate it?
Well, I would say that the first lesson I have gotten out of 4 years of experience is that the BIS Innovation Center was a very, I would say, innovative idea. It was a very wild idea for, I would say, the standards of the BIS. But the collective wisdom of the BIS and its board, I think it paid off. I think the BIS Innovation Hub is a bet that the BIS is making in joining forces among central banks to develop technology that would be very useful for the whole central bank community and for the financial system globally. And I think it has really worked. The first time I presented the idea to the board, they authorized me 5 FTEs in Basel. Now we have over 100 people working in the hub in 7 locations in just 4 years. So, I mean, I don't expect that this growth will continue at this accelerated pace. Again, of this first round, we are concluding this stage with Toronto. We need to consolidate the model. But it really, I think, has paid off the vision. The vision is the financial system is like a very fine, very delicate mechanism that needs to work to the perfection precisely to preserve the trust. But there are many different margins at which things can go wrong. From, people, societies' appetite or preferences of which instruments of payments to use, to how should we regulate financial systems, how do we deal with threats like cybersecurity, how do we deal with AML CFT, how do we use new technologies to take better decisions in central banking, all can contribute for this extremely fine machinery to work perfect at all times. Usually trust is associated with the fact that we need to keep prices down and to preserve the value of the currency. And definitely that's the more important. But all what is around central banking are also important. If you have an institution that is very good at preserving inflation low, but you don't have the certainty that the medium of payment that you will be taken or will preserve its value, then things do not match. So we have to look into all these dimensions. Central banks, each one have their own idiosyncrasy, each country is different, but at the end of the day, there are many similarities. And there is also a lot of gains, potential gains, by sharing findings. And I think in that respect, the BIS is very good. It has been very good in different aspects. Now we're doing this in the field of innovation. And well, I feel that it was the appropriate bet to be taken by the board and by the institution. And, and also as we make progress and as we reach out to other players like academia, like the industry, like the private financial system, the more we see the potential of all this. So I've spoken too much, I can speak more, but I will.
You will get your chance again, I promise. So turning to you, Tiff, you laid it out, but still, the main motivations for Canada to join the Innovation Hub community, and if you have thoughts around the most interesting contributions that the Hub has done so far, and in what way do you think this could also serve the Canadian financial ecosystem going forward?
On the motivations, I'd really highlight 3 things. I mean, I think the starting point is pretty self-evident. I mean, new digital technologies have already transformed finance. They've transformed how we all do our own personal finance. They're transforming commercial finance. And you really get the sense this is just the beginning. And you want to make sure, though, that you harness the benefits and you avoid the pitfalls. And from a Canadian perspective, obviously, as Bank of Canada, we're focused on Canadians. Finance, of course, is global. Money moves across borders very easily. So, we want to make sure we're harnessing the benefits for Canadians and avoiding the dangers. We want to make sure that we're making real progress as this system evolves. So then, the second part of the vision, though, is, okay, well, why do you need a central bank involved in this? I mean, the reality is the private sector is doing a very good job in reinventing the financial system. Why do we need the BIS Innovation Hub? Why do we need central banks? And I think, for much of digital finance, yeah, the private sector is going to do a way better job than the BIS Innovation Hub or central banks. But there are some parts that are really more, they're public goods. They're kind of core infrastructure. They're deep backbone. They're the deeper layer that the private sector doesn't really have much incentive to invest in. It's hard for them to extract the value. They're going to be much better at designing products, figuring out new business models, how to innovate, how to serve people better. But getting that core backbone, ensuring it's secure, it's private, it's efficient, it's coordinated. I do think there is a role for a public institution like the BIS in conjunction with central banks. And then the third part that's really important is, come back to where I started, there are huge dangers with these technologies. As everything goes digital, what if it fails? What are we going to do? We're open to cyber attacks, privacy breaches, fraud. And to get back to where you started, so where do central banks come in here? Well, as you said, Cecilia, very well at the beginning, we're in the business of trust. We've always been in the business of trust. Trust in the value of money. Our physical banknotes. If I give you a $20 Canadian banknote, I want to make sure that, we both want you to be able to accept that without any concerns about counterfeiting. If it's counterfeited, you're going to go use it, and you're going to be holding the bag. You're going to lose the money. It's that making sure that the digital system is safe is a core public good, and those are some of the reasons why I think it is important that BIS, the Bank of Canada, are part of this.
I think you laid it out really well, pointing out that there is different responsibilities and that it's all an ecosystem, and the financial services wouldn't work fully if there wasn't a central bank involved, and the settlement and the clearing and the rule-making supervision. But on the other hand, central banks, as you say, is not well situated to know what the end user needs. That will always be the role of the private sector. So I think it's important to clarify here that we work within the field where we think we could be useful as the public sector representatives, but the private sector will always be much better at the product and service development. Going back to you, Agustin, one thing is to secure what we have and make sure that people stay in the fiat money system and are well served by the current services, but you can also be more ambitious, and you are. You have talked a lot about what a vision of the future financial system could look like. And the BIS Innovation and the Bank of Canada and the other partnering central banks within this network can make contributions. So you call it the Finternet, which is your vision for what the future financial system could look like. Could you talk a little bit about what that could be?
Well, let me make a brief digression to the past. And a lot of the developments in innovation and technology outside central banking and in central banking have been a little bit piecemeal. Mm-hmm. It has concentrated a little bit in payments, a little bit on fintech, subtech, in how can we use information much better to do policy. But at the end of the day, we still need to develop a fully fledged vision of how the future of the financial system would look like. It's very ambitious. So in a way, how can the different parts fit together? Now, I think it's important for the central banks at least to start doing this type of exercise, because I fully subscribe what Tiff said, that we provide basic infrastructure, basic public goods that I'm sure that no matter what the shape of the financial system future will have, those things will have to be there. So we have to make sure that those parts are there and precisely provide the platform for the private sector and others to build on top of it. I think that figure is very important. So I think that we need to identify what are the key technological aspects and what are the key institutional aspects to make that flourish. And through our research, we have found out that tokenization has a lot of future. And tokenization could allow the development of many different, of basically to recreate the financial transactions that we have today, but also to generate far more complex transactions that take advantage of issues like programmability and so on and so forth. I think we have today many incomplete financial markets because we don't have the technological way of integrating all that information in an efficient way. The financial system still is plagued with inefficiencies, and there is a lot to be gained from the inefficiencies in the system. Now, what is beautiful is that the technology is there. So I think there can be a win-win situation when we bring the vision of the central banks mostly concentrated in the key features that are essential to preserve the trust, the vision of the private sector, and the advantage of technology to come with a better financial system. Now, you can say, well, let's 1,000 flowers bloom and see what comes out of it. Mm-hmm. That can be very romantic, but I think we can be a little bit more efficient if we can sort of try to steer the system in a very specific direction. In the way that obviously the creativity of the private sector is there, of academicians is there, and so on and so forth, but the public good aspects are preserved, and therefore we have a strong platform for the system to flourish. So that's a little bit the vision of the Finternet. And to make sure that this was not just a pipe dream of an economist sitting in Basel without having other things to do, I shared my view with Nandan Nilekani, which is a real technological wizard, somebody who really is a doer. And I said, Nandan, how can you put this into practice? And he said, I can do it in 3 months. Now, it was a little bit longer, but I think it was very good to put our minds together and realize that, yes, this could be done in the future. So we have put together both technological insights and institutional insights.
Yeah, he's done a tremendous job together with his team putting India's financial system really on digital feet. It's really inspiring to go and have a look there. Tiff, you heard Agustin Carstens' vision for the international, the global world. Can you see similar moves? What would be your vision for the Canadian ecosystem going forward?
Well, I think we share a common vision. As we've articulated, the private sector is going to be in the lead here, but there is a core public good. I mean, finance. Think of the core things that finance do: facilitate payments, liquidity and maturity transformation, insurance. These are core functions that build your economy. And as things go digital, there's tremendous opportunities for new services, for existing services to be faster, cheaper, more accessible, but also for entirely new services, entirely new business models. And I think our vision is we want to make sure that the core of that system is reliable, is operating in the best interest of our citizens. So I think we have a common vision. I mean, a couple of things, I would mention in terms of central banks. I think it's hard for us at central banks to be effective players in achieving that vision if we don't understand these technologies. And if you want to understand these technologies, the reality is you can't just read about them. You got to roll up your sleeves. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to try it. You got to break a few things.
In a safe setting.
in a safe setting, exactly. And that's exactly why you need something that is actually sort of not, in your production building. It's in a separate hub, in an innovation hub. The other element is we've got to bring in different skill sets. We need different types of partners. The Bank of Canada is very connected to the economics and finance departments across the country. We're not as connected as we should be to the computer science departments and the data science departments and the math departments. We've got to build some new partnerships with academia. We've also got to build some new partnerships with, we know the regulated financial sector very well, but a lot of the innovative new actors are not in the regulated sector. We need to connect with them. And the idea is that, we need to sort of shorten this bridge between new innovation and creating products that are sound and are benefiting society. So that's the vision.
That's the vision. And let me just chip in that the importance here is to have, when you're experimenting with new technology, we have a separated IT structure so we could much easier onboard technology without breaking any systems, which is obviously a must. And it's also interesting when you bring in these people with economists are the dominating degree at central banks, usually followed by lawyers and the odd engineers here and there. But I think this is shifting now, and you're bringing in younger people with computer science degrees, and degrees that we couldn't even choose when some of us were younger. So it's also the institutions in itself is changing. We're coming up to the end of this conversation, and we're going to hear soon about Project Fuse, which is currently already under development here in Toronto. But Agustin, Fuse, we have heard, you showed on the lunch presentations, Project Nexus, Project Agora. How do you think they bring this vision closer to reality? And Tiff, turning back to you, you get the last word. What do you think are the main elements that you consider that the BIS Toronto Innovation Centre could bring to the Canadian ecosystem, but also to the rest of the world, perhaps? But starting with you, Agustin, the projects and how they help the vision come to life.
Yes, thank you very much, Cecilia. And let me just say that Cecilia is a great conductor of all our efforts. It's not easy to juggle 7 centers in the air. I mean, I see Cecilia doing this all the time, but she does a great job. The different projects that you mentioned, all of them are complementary. Nexus is how to bring together fast payment systems. It's close to be a reality in Southeastern Asia. Now we have India on board. And we might have very soon 2 billion people connected by an idea that was generated by the hub. And that's big. That's big. Agora is a great idea. I mean, at the end of the day, if we want to have a future financial system with tokenization and all those things, we need to have the circulatory system working well, and that is how payments are made. And for that, you need to be able to use, because we don't need to invent hot water again, it needs to work with central bank wholesale money, not I'm talking about retail, and commercial bank money. And the way you can do it in an efficient way is of the essence. And we're working now with the IIF and other private financial institutions to make this possible. It could be a core of the future of the financial systems. On top of that, you can mount tokenization, and you can really expand the whole financial system. And then we have FUSE, and that is more looking into countries that they just don't have the platform to bring on board many technological advances that have taken place. So basically what you need is to start again from zero. But basically what you want is to establish a platform that is versatile enough where you can, through modules, you can build a very complex financial system very quickly. So you can leapfrog in matter of a few years what you haven't done in the last 40 or 50 years. And that's what FUSE has as an objective, and it has the potential of creating a huge impact. Okay. So that's it.
Thank you. Tiff?
Yes, you mentioned Project FUSE. I agree. I think so. That is something that has been started at the Toronto Innovation Center, and yes, it's a great example. It's sort of building core building blocks to make payment systems work more efficiently and safer at scale. But let me say a few words about what I see as some of the key steps to building the Toronto Innovation Hub, and I think it starts sort of on the ground here. We need to build close partnerships with academics. Before I was governor, I was dean of the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto. The Toronto Innovation Center is actually going to be on the edge of the U of T campus in this sort of Toronto Innovation District. Mars Discovery Center is across the street. University of Toronto, which has Jeff Hinton, one of the founders of deep learning, strong tradition in computer science. You've got University of Waterloo a little to the north. You've got Hamilton, McMaster around the Golden Horseshoe. I mean, the whole Toronto, Waterloo, Hamilton corridor has become one of the leading innovation clusters in North America. And the first step is really to tap into that. We want to tap into that, connect with this infrastructure. We want to benefit from that ecosystem, but we also want to contribute to that ecosystem. So it starts, right here at home. Then I think that the second step is one of the things about this innovation hub. I mean, if the BIS wasn't putting an innovation hub here in Toronto, we'd probably have to do it all by ourselves at the Bank of Canada. It is so much better to do it in partnership, because I am a big believer that creating this community of practice, creating this innovation ecosystem with like-minded people is going to accelerate our progress. So I think step one, we are the first BIS innovation hub in the Americas. There is a sister innovation hub at the New York Fed. Working with them and leading central banks in North and South America. One of the things that you're seeing in particularly some of the bigger South American countries is they're actually leapfrogging our technologies. They're moving ahead of us. We've got a lot to learn from them. So let's connect across those central banks together with the New York Fed, and let's learn from each other and all accelerate. And then the final step really is taking the full advantage of the seven BIS innovation hubs around the world. I think many of the challenges, as you said, Agustin, are common across platforms. We're all looking at similar problems. We can share solutions and accelerate progress. So I think we're off to a very good start, and I'm looking forward to coming back here and reporting how much progress we've made.
Absolutely.
Welcome aboard. Thank you very much both. Let's now turn to the Toronto Innovation Center itself. We've heard a little bit about Project FUSE. It's my great pleasure to give you the floor now to the center head, Miguel Diaz.
Thank you.
stage.
Thank you, Cecilia. And thank you to everyone in this room for being here. This represents a lot for us in terms of the support and the interest that you have in the opening of the center, but not just that, but on the task that we have in front of us. And Agustin, Tiff, and Cecilia have already set a very powerful vision for the future of the financial system and how the Innovation Hub can play an important role into that. And now it is my turn to share with you what we can do from Toronto. And by we, I mean we. And I'll try to explain a little bit what I mean by that. Before diving into the details, let me just recap some of the elements on why this is very important and crucial to provide these tangible solutions for society as soon as possible. And first, let's start with an obvious fact, which is the digital economy is basically touching all of our lives in every aspect of our lives. And it is very important to participate in the digital economy because in the near future, it might be the case that if you don't participate in the digital economy, you don't participate in the economy at all. And this implies that we need to include everyone around. And in order to get there, we need people to have access to digital financial services and to be able to settle transactions on the digital realm with electronic means. The only problem that we have here is that this is like the tip of an iceberg. So every nice digital product that we see implies just this little tip with all the complexity and all the infrastructures that you have to build below that. And this is something that no one sees, but without that, nothing else works. And the financial services are the perfect example of that. So we have people that want immediate payments, automatic payments, and so on. But this implies to build actually important and very significant infrastructures below that in the form of financial market infrastructures mainly. And the problem we have now is that these financial market infrastructures were built for another world. And this will not withstand the pressures that are brought by the new demands in the digital economy. On top of these infrastructures are complex. These are giant monsters with many, many moving technological parts to them, and each one of these parts is moving very fast, so keeping up to speed on only one institution or only one jurisdiction becomes a very complicated task. And this is why it is very important to start thinking on this collaborative endeavor. But not all is lost. We can design digital solutions that can be replicated on different jurisdictions, so we can create these modular architectures that Agustin mentioned, and we can create core solutions that are useful for many jurisdictions with simple tweaking in terms of just the outside connections to the particular environments that we need to serve. This type of work, together with the exploration, is what the Innovation Hub does better. And we basically have, so we aim to create digital public goods that can be replicated across jurisdictions, on which private-public partnership is very important and probably essential. And these public goods can take the form of horizon scanning, in which we can create this information on new technologies that can be useful for different jurisdictions. It can also take the shape of code that we can share with the different organizations and jurisdictions that are trying to implement these things in reality. And we can create the spaces for collaboration, which is also fundamental. The BIS Toronto Innovation Center is just one of 7 engines driving tangible solutions to common problems. And it will bring to the table this America's flavor, trying to identify what are the needs on the jurisdictions on this time zone. The Innovation Hub, as was mentioned, has 6 big themes, and the Toronto Innovation Center will focus on 3 of them. The first one is next-generation financial market infrastructures, and it is very important to focus on this because this is the fundamental building block of any well-functioning financial system. Other pieces of technology that are created elsewhere are not necessarily useful if you don't have these basic pieces. And the reality is that many jurisdictions, both developing and developed, do not necessarily have these foundational FMIs. The second element we'll focus on is in supervisory technology. When you see around and you see that many new institutions are coming to provide different services in the financial sector, you can just imagine how overwhelming this is for the supervisor. You have more institutions and you have more rules to supervise. And this really makes a very difficult task to bring the security and safety that the supervisors have always provided to the financial systems and to the users of financial systems. Therefore, it is very important to start tackling and understanding which technologies can help supervisors to do their work better and faster and more efficiently. The third one has to do with open finance, because in a world in which we have to reach everyone, we need to allow for new ideas to be developed and for services to be provided for the final users efficiently. And to do this, it is necessary to create infrastructures that can allow for this connection between our traditional financial sector, which has prudential regulations on it, and get also the synergies from the newcomers that have much more experience in terms of providing the services for the final users. Within these three objectives, we considered three principles to set our projects. The first one is we will try to maximize the impact on different societies, and we will try to make a flexible approach in order to allow for these solutions to be implemented in as many jurisdictions as possible. This implies working on back-end solutions that are not complete solutions, but that can reduce the costs of implementation very significantly. The second one is that we will try to take advantage of the existing infrastructure by reusing and repurposing those elements that are useful from our current systems, and at the same time allow for new functionalities to be built on top. When efficient functionalities already exist in an ecosystem, it makes sense to build upon them. Just like this hotel. This is a beautiful old hotel, and nobody would think about turning it down. We can just put a set of efficient windows, a new air conditioner, and it can serve the functionality in a very nice way. And we think that this can be done also with certain elements on the financial sector. Together with these, there are many things that have been developed around the world that are already operating. So just identifying these pieces, such as certain elements on Brazil Speaks, or certain elements on India's UPI, and trying to present this in a way that can be used by all the other jurisdictions can reduce significantly the costs of getting to the functionality that we actually need to provide to our societies in a more efficient and seamless way. And the third principle we have in our projects is to try to identify how we can build projects that are flexible and adaptable in time. So if we build a monolith, it will be very difficult to adapt to the changing conditions both in the demand, the changing conditions on technology, and the changing conditions in terms of the processes that need to be put forth. Now, into the very tangible details, I can share with you how these principles are shaping our projects. And we began our journey with a large next-generation financial market infrastructure project called FUSE. This is a modular evolvable architecture that can be used a bit as a Lego piece for different financial market infrastructures. So if you need settlement within your financial market infrastructure, you could use FUSE as a backend technology. And what is interesting about this project is that this module is also made out of smaller modules that can be used separately from the system, reusing these efforts and reusing this development that has been already created. The way we're developing this project goes along with the three mandates that Cecilia mentioned. Firstly, we're trying to create code and analyzing how to open source these for central banks to use. The second one is that we have developed workshops for central bank IT specialists so that they can discuss and get the best of the new technologies from a perspective of information. And the third one is that we have created the space for collaborative efforts. And this example is very clear when we consider that the Inter-American Development Bank is also participating in this project, as well as the Bank of Chile and, of course, the Bank of Canada. But importantly, many other jurisdictions around the Americas have shown interest, and this will continue to develop over time. In terms of the future work, we're exploring how to support supervisors with AI solutions that can reduce the costs of supervising, but also reducing the costs of being supervised. And finally, we are also exploring the implementation of open finance architectures that can reduce the costs of interacting with other entities that you do not necessarily trust on by the usage of centralized hubs that can reduce and can bring this trust for the newcomers that are providing the best services in terms of front-end solutions, and our prudentially regulated entities that can bring the trust into the financial transactions. If you have to keep one idea of what I just said, I would have to say that none of this can be achieved without collaboration. The quest is simply too large. We need to create the conditions for this collaboration to emerge between private and public sector, between new and old providers within the private sector, and also among the different jurisdictions. And I believe that contributing to the emergence of this collaborative project is probably the most important and significant good we can aim for. Thank you very much for listening and for your support for the Innovation Hub. And I will leave you with a short video on the BIS Innovation Hub.
Technological innovation is revolutionizing global financial markets. The Bank for International Settlements, or BIS, has established the Innovation Hub to respond to these technological advances in 3 ways. First, we analyze critical technological trends in the financial sector. Second, we explore the development of new technological solutions. And third, we coordinate a network of central bank experts who share their experiences and knowledge on technological innovation in the financial sector.
The question is, when we see all this technological development across the world, is whether central banks should just observe or be more active and actually influence developments. And here at the BIS, we think it's not enough to just observe. Instead, we think that central banks need to pay attention to the technological developments and harness the possibilities that comes with them to solve different problems that we're seeing in the financial system in order to continue to promote our goal of monetary and financial stability. In short, the philosophy of the BIS Innovation Hub is that we take technologies, explore that, experiment to see, can we solve problems? Can we create and influence new public goods? All in order to make the global financial systems even better.
With our multiple centers around the world, our work is currently focused on 3 areas: improving payment systems and experimenting with central bank digital currencies, shaping the future of financial regulation and supervision, and greening and securing the financial sector.
When you walk into the Innovation Hub, you immediately sense an atmosphere that is different from that of a traditional central bank. Our offices look much more like what you would see in a tech startup than in a central bank. And it's not just the way we look, but the way we work. We use innovative, agile work methodologies that are typical in the technology industry. With our partner central banks, we identify problems in the financial sector that can be addressed using new innovative technologies. Using design thinking, we develop technological solutions to these problems. And with agile project management techniques, we iterate often, fail fast, and learn quickly. And finally, collaboration is part of our DNA.
Our activities include not only practical experiments to develop proof of concepts or prototypes, but we also host events and initiatives in which we bring the central banking community and the private sector together, such as our flagship conference, the Innovation Summit, and the G20 Tech Sprint, a global hackathon that we organize in collaboration with the G20 presidency. At the Innovation Hub, we are proud to foster international collaboration and promote innovative financial technologies.
We're still only at the beginning of an exciting journey, and it's my great pleasure to invite you all to this ride.